Hello and welcome to Circulate by CDA with me, Stuart Aldis. Today we're going to be talking about e-commerce. E-commerce is very much in the headlines at the moment, perhaps for the wrong reasons with all the issues we're seeing with panic buying in the market. But what it's demonstrating to us at CDA and looking at the trends of our retailers is e-commerce is massively on the increase. I read a very scary statistic earlier in the week that Amazon are reporting a 1,000% increase just on toilet rolls on their website. Unprecedented demand. The large supermarkets are reporting the same. But at the same time, I think this is an opportunity for smaller, medium-sized businesses and smaller than that to actually make a dent into e-commerce. As I said earlier, supermarkets, they've got unprecedented demand at the moment. So if you're a more regional, local e-commerce retailer, this could be a very good opportunity for you to take some of that market share that the bigger players are currently not being able to service. If you have a radius of 30 miles from your small independent store, this might be a time for you to change the way you're working. People are not coming through your doors. This could be a good opportunity for you to launch e-commerce, to start servicing your customers and keeping your business's survival. This video today is about tips and tricks of e-commerce. Before owning CDA, I spent my lifetime working in the world of e-commerce, back from the early 1990s when it was called this internet thing. And someone once said to me, very funnily, it might take off one day. E-commerce certainly has, and it's a recognised industry now. It's a recognised channel of selling products to consumers. What's been very interesting for me during the last week or so is the transformation in the demographic change of people buying online. People that traditionally were not buying online, were not going online to do their banking, are now being forced to do it. My parents are a classic example. They're in their late 70s and early 80s, and they're now doing internet banking this week because they can't go to the bank to pay their checks in or to move money around. They're having to go online to buy products and find items. I mentioned earlier, Amazon, have seen huge increases in their traffic this week to their website. We work at CDA, work with many retailers, and in the last 10 days or so, we've seen huge demands on their website traffic, on the servers that run the websites, the payment gateways that keep going, and it's been a 24/7 job. But e-commerce is definitely never been more important to a business. When the coronavirus panic and the shopping stops, people will have changed their mindset how they buy. They will start using the internet. People that weren't previously using it, they will continue to use it. They won't go back to the old ways. E-commerce is set to change. It's new demand, a new opportunity. Now, e-commerce comes in many formats. If you're a small business all the way through to the large corporates, they're all engaged with e-commerce. And there's some very basic principles of e-commerce that you always need to remember. Whether you've got a website selling t-shirts from your back bedroom, or if you're a huge corporate selling thousands and thousands of items on your website like Amazon, there's basic e-commerce principles that we need to think about. We call them the tips and tricks. So what sort of things should you be thinking about if you've got an e-commerce website? Well, the first for me is about measurements. What sort of statistics should you be looking at and understanding to be able to move your website forward? The biggest one for me is a very simple one. It's called the sales conversion rate. This is basically the conversion rate from the amount of people that come to your website and the amount of people that check out from your website. The higher that percentage, the more engagement you're getting, the more brand loyalty you've got, because the more people are checking out. Now, at the moment, those figures are slightly skewed because everybody's trying to buy everything at the moment online, especially essential items. But it's still very important. I was speaking to a company this week and their sales conversion was running at 0.5%, which is way too low for the products they were selling. Depending on the sort of products and the markets you're in, will determine what's a good conversion rate and what's a low conversion rate. With all of these topics, if you do want to discuss them more with me, please feel free to direct message me or get in touch with me at CDA and we can talk about your sector specifically and the sort of conversion rate that you should be looking to measure against. Other things you should be measuring on your e-commerce website are things like funnel analysis. So what that means is basically, if you think about your e-commerce flow, you think about every e-commerce website, you start off with a home page or a landing page, you go to a product page, you go through to a basket page and then a checkout page and a thank you page, which we call a confirmation page. So if you have 1,000 people hit your website on a landing page or the home page, and then 500 people to the product page, and then 200 people to the basket, and 5 people to the confirmation page, you can use that data to see where there's leakages in your funnel, leakages in the flow. It's called funnel analysis. If you're using products such as Google Analytics, you can put targets and Google tags into your website so you can measure those statistics. Google Analytics is a great tool to do that, and it's completely free of charge. Other statistics I'd like you to think about is the bounce rate. Because if you have got an e-commerce website, you've spent some money to develop that website and made an investment, but you've also spent money probably driving traffic to your website. So the last thing you want to do is drive traffic to a website that is not optimized. So there's this tracking conversion, it's called a bounce rate. Well, what a bounce rate basically is, very easily, if someone comes to your website, they don't click any of your links on your website, in other words, they have no engagement, and they leave your website. A good e-commerce website would probably have between a 12 and 22% conversion rate, and that would be good. I see websites from people, and they're running bounce rates of 60, 70, 80%. If you're running a bounce rate of 75%, that means that 75% of your marketing budget is being destroyed. If you're spending money driving traffic to your website and it's not optimized for sales conversion, then I would urge you to consider pausing those campaigns and spending some of that budget to optimize your website first. Because there's no point driving people to a website that isn't optimized. You won't get the return on that investment. When you're looking at your website, think about how easy it is as a user. Lots of people that operate e-commerce websites, they go into the back of the e-commerce website, the CMS or their stock and order management systems, and they forget to go to the front of their website and be a consumer for 10 minutes. Click on the website, try to buy something. Is it as easy as 1, 2, 3? For example, when you get to the payment screen, is it easy to check out? Does your website offer multiple payment methods? For example, credit card, debit card, PayPal. If they're working on a mobile device, does it allow Apple Pay? Does it allow Google Pay? Have you integrated the latest technology to make it seamless for people? They don't have to put all their details in your website. You may have noticed on many e-commerce websites now, you can log in with Facebook. Again, it saves data. If you're asking somebody's address on a registration form or on a checkout page, use a postcode lookup or an address lookup system so that consumers don't have to type in their address. When we drive traffic to a website, we need to think about how that traffic is engaged on your website. How easy is it for the user to find content, find the product they want? And the problem with websites is, it's a website. How does it talk to thousands of people all at the same time and serve the relevant content to those users? Now, when I was back before I was in CDA, I used to be involved in a lot of behavioural pattern research of people using websites for e-commerce. And we used to hire rooms and have people being watched while they were using our websites. We'd record them, we'd look at their hand movements, their pupils of their eyes, where it was on the screen and the mobile device. And we would analyse all that data to optimise the user journey. Now, I'm not saying you need to go to that level, but one thing that we learned from that is there's 2 clear behavioural patterns of e-commerce users. And in fact, you could actually apply this to non-e-commerce websites and how they engage with brochureware websites. And we can group these 2 user groups, what's called hunters and explorers. So let's think about their mindset. A hunter knows exactly what they want. They don't care about the fluff on the outside. They want to get into that product. They want to buy it and leave you alone as quick as possible. There may be a returning customer that's buying for a 2nd, 3rd or 4th or 5th time. They could be somebody that knows your brand already and they trust your brand already. So for me, a hunter, we need to give them very clear navigation. Now, most hunters will actually start their exploration back in Google. They'll type in the product they're looking for and they expect that product page to come back in Google, click into the product page and check out as fast as possible. And if they come to your website because they've saved the URL or they're used to you, give them very clean and easy navigation options to get to that product. Typically they will use the search box on your website, so make sure your search is optimized and works. Then we've got the explorers. These are people that come to your website, they know they need something, but they're not quite sure of what they need or how it works or the options available to them. Now, if you look at leading e-commerce websites, you will find that their websites are full of inspirational blocks on their homepage and on their category pages. They're giving the consumer ideas. Imagine if you had a shop in the high street and somebody walked into your store, you would ask them open questions about what are you looking for, what do you want it to do. Try and think of your website as the same. It should ask the user, what are you interested in, what are you trying to find out, do you need motivation? The weekend just passed, we had Mother's Day. So on your website, you should have the Mother's Day section with ideas and inspiration for people to click through to. Give the consumer choices and help them navigate the website. All leading e-commerce websites do that. And they're called explorers. Traditionally, explorers will be your bigger part of the market because they're new business opportunities. Give them inspiration and make it easy for them. Look at your user interface. Does it share best practice? And what I mean by best practice is, does it make it easy for the consumer to navigate? So for example, if you have a search page on your website and you've got loads of products, you've got 300 products in your search results, does their website have good usability that it allows the users to filter by product attributes? So if I'm looking for a new television, for example, and I know I want a flat screen plasma TV or LED TV, and I want it by Samsung, I want it 50 inches and above, when I go to my search results and I see hundreds of televisions, are there filters on the left-hand side? Let me pick Samsung and the sort of technology and attributes that I'm looking for. When I'm on the product page, is the quantity that I want near the add to basket, is it in my line of view? If you want to know about e-commerce best practice and page layout, then again, we could talk for a long time around that subject. Give me a call and we can discuss that, or message me here on Facebook. But put yourself in the consumer shoes and use your website. Look at leading brand websites. Look at websites like ASOS. People like John Lewis. They spend a lot of time researching and understanding consumer behavioural patterns so they can optimize their websites. Take a look at those websites and compare them to yours. You may not have the budgets of the John Lewis of the world and the ASOS, but you can learn from what they're doing. Take inspiration from them. Make sure the whole experience is optimized for mobile phones. If you're selling B2C, start with the mobile phone first. It's where the majority of your traffic is going to come from. And that's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And as people embrace technology more, especially nowadays where people have had to change their browsing habits because of the recent events, keep with that mobile and make it easy for people. Think as well about that not everybody uses the same device that you're using. You may be using a PC in your office or at home or to look at your website. Someone else might be looking at it on an Apple Mac. Somebody else might be looking at it on an iPad. Somebody else might be looking at it on a Samsung Android phone. You have to think about cross-browser compatibility and make sure it works. Now there's thousands of devices out there and thousands of browsers. You don't need to get caught up with all of them. You need to take the 90-10 rule. You get 90% of the market, put your efforts into that. There's most popular browsers like Google Chrome and the most popular platforms like PC and Mac and Android and Apple. That's where I'd urge you to start. There's so much more we could talk about with e-commerce and optimization. And of course, we haven't even touched driving traffic to your website yet, which will be in the latest seminar later in the week. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about SEO, or as we prefer to call it, making Google happy. And I hope you join us for that talk as well. In the meantime, if you do have any questions, please feel free to message me, give me a call at CDA, and we'll do our best to help. In the meantime, please stay safe, and I'll thank you for watching. Take care. Goodbye.